Thank you for coming, everyone. This is an excerpt from my debut novel, The Tempest in Glass, an adventurous mystery thriller with a spiritual edge. This is a scene that takes place deep in the second half of the book from a chapter called What No Mortal is Permitted to Speak. The sting of anxiety seared Marvin Fisher's stomach. He was about to undergo the interview of his life. Gilgamesh, gazing through the towering window, hands clasped behind his waist, stood regally dressed in a flowing red cloak. Gilgamesh turned, his stern eyes meeting Marvin's tentative stare. Gilgamesh strode from the window, past the marble columns, his imposing figure governing the entire hall. As Gilgamesh walked commandingly to the center of the room, it seemed to Marvin that the air itself parted to give way to the man. Gilgamesh reached the marble stool. Leaning against the stool was a long staff of carved sassafras, adorned with jewels. Not far from Gilgamesh's stool had been placed a second stool, equal in size and design to the first. "Come," Gilgamesh offered, his deep-toned voice resonating like the strings of a double bass in the New York Philharmonic. Marvin, suddenly embarrassed at his dusty suit and tie, stepped across the shiny jasper floor, the soles of his tattered shoes emitting the awkward clop-clop as he strode to within 10 feet of the Titan. "What is your name?" Gilgamesh boomed. "I'm Marvin Fisher," he said with bravery. "And what is it that you do, Mr. Fisher?" "I'm an intelligence commander in Phoenix, Arizona, on Earth." Gilgamesh took one easy step, his long cloak flowing behind him until its hem caught up with his heels. "And who is the angel who awakened me from my trance?" "That's Dr. Amina Karimova, professor of religion at the University of Edinburgh, Scotland." Gilgamesh remained silent, and Marvin felt like Gilgamesh was waiting for him to say something else. So Marvin said, "I also came with a boy, Antonio Valdez. His mother Ruby died after I prayed for her and..." Marvin hesitated, but when he saw that he had Gilgamesh's rapt attention, continued. "And Ruby Valdez believed that a departed saint had sent her to me to pray for her safety. But then Ruby Valdez died. We were hoping, that is, Antonio Valdez and Amina Karimova and I, were hoping to find this departed saint. And we were hoping that you, sir, would be able to help us find him." "And what is the name of the departed saint to whom you refer?" "Saint Peter, sir, from the inner circle of Jesus, the Christ. St. Peter lived many centuries after you lived on earth, sir." Gilgamesh drew a breath. Familiarity swept his face. "St. Peter?" "Yes, sir." "Simon Bar-Jonah." A rush of adrenaline burned Marvin's sinews. He barely got out, "Yes." Gilgamesh gazed high into the air of the room toward the large prismatic window in the spire. Then, decidedly, Gilgamesh stepped to his marble stool and sat down, his face hard with contemplation. "I know this, St. Peter." Marvin watched the giant, whose mind seemed to be spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. "And I believe I may know this Jesus, the Christ of whom you speak. Perhaps by another name. He is a god, yes?" "I do believe so, yes, most certainly. The Creator." Gilgamesh sat perfectly still for several seconds. His eyes blinked. Marvin guessed the man was processing centuries of knowledge, assembling it into some sort of order. At least, Marvin hoped so. "Mr. Fisher, what is your understanding of what is to come for all eternity?" "God will bring us to heaven," said Marvin. "Well, those of us who believe anyway." "And you are familiar with the passage in the sacred text which says, of the third heaven?" Marvin winced as if uncertain of an answer on a final exam. "Sort of." Gilgamesh tilted his head, another knowing look sweeping his face. "Mr. Fisher, I believe there is something that you must do." "And what is that?" Gilgamesh leaned and said in a husky whisper, "It may have something to do with what was overheard in the third heaven, with what no mortal is permitted to speak." Marvin almost lost his balance. Gilgamesh held out a hand toward the other stool. Sit down, Mr. Fisher. Let me tell you my story. I believe it will be of great interest.